Hey all, this is Larry Hoy, biker rider legend. If you stumbled across this video and you want to see more, be sure to visit my Facebook page, Larry Hoy Author. Like it so that way you can keep up to date on my daily posts and my weekly first chapter readings. Also look for my book, Demon's Kiss. It's the latest and greatest in the Hit World book series. It's on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited, all the wonderful great places. And on with the book. All right. So tonight's first chapter, I'm pulling out an old classic from my buddy John Pyka. Now I've got the original print cover that's out of print right now, but if you see it on the screen, it's been redesigned and it's now called Reich by John Pyka. I'll give you the quick rundown off of Amazon before we get started on this. In the final days of World War II, Adolf Hitler makes a pact with Dracula to create an army of vampire Nazis. The only combined might of Earth's heroes can save the planet from apocalyptic nightmare. Join the Blue Phantom, Maxwell Marvel, Kota the Black Lion, and assembled heroes of the Dev Course for a two-fisted showdown of epic proportions. So John takes this into a steampunk, off-world, alternate history type of thing, and then we're going right into it now. I'm going to bring you into the first chapter. Prologue. My head was pounding. I struggled to open my eyes, even in the dim light of the room. I was hurt. It hurt like hell. Where was I? My memory was hazy. I couldn't sort it out. What day was it? Did I have to go into the office today? The office? Since when did I work in an office? I lay in the bed and staring at the ceiling for another minute, trying to figure it all out. What was happened? Last night put my mind in a haze. I closed my eyes and tried to remember. I sat up as the truth came rushing back, cold sweat instantly beating on my forehead. I jumped from the bed and rushed to the windows across the room. I threw open the cheap drapes, and the blinding sunlight nearly threw me backwards. I squinted against the light and Sorry, John, you get what you pay for, man. I squinted against the light and tried to adjust. Nothing was familiar. The buildings were huge, towering behemoths, almost like something out of a Buck Rogers comic strip. But the sky was clear blue and uncluttered. None of the usual flying machines littered the sky. I turned to the hotel room door behind me. On the floor, pushed just halfway under the door, was a newspaper. Could it be? I rushed over to the door and snatched the paper from the floor and snapped it open. The date on the front screamed the truth. May 15th, 2015. It was the future, or the present, or the future of my present in the past. It all started flowing back. The architects, the Nexus, Doc Impossible, Professor Marvel, the portal. Chronicle event that flung me into this future. Violent and ancient energy. This was the future of my past. But that is the end. Well, we need to start at the beginning. Chapter 1. The floor show at Club Roxy was in full swing when it all went down. My headline guest, the illusionist Professor Maxwell Marvel, had just made a 5-ton elephant vanish in full view. No other magician could do this. Oh well, there were many others who could make large animals vanish, even elephants, but all of them used a special box, some type of curtain or other apparatus, not Professor Marvel. His assistants brought the elephant on stage. He said some magic words, clapped his hands, and the beast was gone. And he's not just hidden gone, but actually gone. It was one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen. For a finale, the good professor would sit on his magic carpet and proceed to fly over the heads of the audience, not just to the side, not just side to side or up and down like most of the ham and egg magicians out there, but out over the audience. It was astounding. No, breathtaking. No one knew how it was done. The only explanation anybody could come up with is that it was real magic, which all of us in the business knew it was. My club, Club Roxy, is the swankiest night spot in Chicago. I came up through the ranks of Tommy Sims' gang, and when Sims died, I inherited everything. I used what money Tommy amassed to open this club. Club Roxy is host to politicians, celebrities, gangsters, the affluent elite, but what really makes the place to be is the floor show. Every night I host the biggest, the best show in town, featuring the biggest headliners in the country. This week, Marvel was the headliner, and the place was packed, sold out for the entire engagement. Club Roxy was always packed, and Marvel shows always sold out. But this night, the Club Roxy had become the entrepreneur of an event that would change the world. They burst through the front door. They hit Rocco Pirelli first. He went flying across the room, shoved out of the way like some rag doll. He collided head first with the trumpet section of the band. Whoever these intruders were, they were tough. Pirelli was the toughest, tough to walk in Chicago, tougher than me. Nobody with any sense dared mess with him. But there he was, swimming in a tangled mess of brass and steel. Whoever could toss him around like that was serious and meant business. They came in like a pack of wolves. As a matter of fact, for years afterwards, eyewitnesses would describe them that way. Their hair was short and blonde and stuck straight up like they had been electrocuted. They each stood with a slump, not in a weak way, but in a powerful, primal way. They had red eyes. Everyone who saw them swore they had red eyes, and they were dressed in nondescript gray uniforms. The leader of the pack looked around the room, snorted, and they each sprang to the crowd. The women screamed primal screams of fear, and even the toughest guys panicked. 2 off-duty cops pulled their service revolvers and started firing off shots. Several wise guys pulled out hidden Tommy guns and laid into the uninvited guests with hot lead. I immediately pulled my jackknife and slashed one of the intruders across the throat. Unfortunately, all of this didn't faze any of the beasts. I was the one slashed up. The one I slashed up sprung his clawed hands and sent me flying over the bar. Another grabbed my best girl, Londa Lamore, by the back of her hair and pulled her head back, revealing her neck. He opened his mouth wide. He had fangs. As God is my witness, this thing had fangs. He seemed ready to sink his fangs into Linda's neck when Professor Marvel acted. As soon as Rocco had been sent sailing through the air, Marvel had turned his carpet sharply to face the fiends. He hopped up off the carpet and calmly strode to a position in the middle of the dance floor and closed his eyes. He spoke words that sounded like ancient incantation and thrust his hands into the air. Suddenly the sound left the room. I don't mean it was quiet. I mean the sound literally vanished. And without warning, and just as suddenly, a blinking, blinding light filled the room with a deafening clap of thunder. The light seemed 5 times brighter than the sun and hurt like hell. It only lasted for a second, but that's all it needed. The monstrous intruders burst into flame, and with an instant, they had all been reduced to a pile of ash. Everyone looked around in shock, wondering just what had happened. Everyone remain calm, Marvel said in a measured, even tones. I popped in. Show's over, folks. Everyone, get out! My guest didn't argue. It took them all 5 minutes for the guests to get their hats and wraps and the hat check and get out. The band took off too. Nobody had to tell them the gig was over. After that last guest had left, I took off my red woolen fedora and said, would someone please tell me what that was all about? Vampires, responded Professor Marvel. What? What do you mean vampires? You mean to tell me those things were vampires? Come on. Vampires aren't real. Oh, I am afraid they're very real, Mr. Delacroix. You're fortunate I was present tonight to dispatch them. What do you mean, real? What I mean, Mr. Delacroix, is that you of all people know there's an entire world of supernatural beings and events that most people consider myth or fairy tales, but they're very real. The real question at hand is, why did they attack tonight, and why here? Well, I think I can answer that question, Marvel, said a new player as he melted out of the shadows into a real space. It was one of my agents, the Blue Phantom. Lana Lamore gasped, and Rocco tensed. Relax, everyone. Like I said, the Blue Phantom is a friend, Spill it, Blue. They were here to find something or someone. He motioned to a lone man at the far end of the bar, sitting, still chugging a bottle of rum. He wore a tattered mohair coat and had thick, long, unkempt black hair. He wore sunglasses, and a nasty scar ran diagonally from his right cheek to the center of his forehead. It was everyone's gaze upon him that man looked up and said, "What y'all looking at?" I was the first one to speak up. "Excuse me, but why would vampires tear up my club over some drunk?" "Because," a new voice said from the shadows, "that drunk is the most feared vampire hunter in history." "And who are you?" I asked. This was becoming a crowded conversation. "Quick!" "My name is Colonel Jack Abel, commander of the Earth Defense Force, and that man, however, is a vampire hunter's worst nightmare. Allow me to introduce you to Harker Van Helsing. Now, someone get some coffee brewing. We've got a lot of work to do." Over the next 20 minutes, Colonel Jack Abel, the self-proclaimed super patriot and world-famous celebrated hero of the Earth-Martian War, now commanding officer of the Earth Defense Force, briefed us on the situation. Abel spoke directly, without the mincing of words, but still with a cocky edge of bravado. 6 months ago, British intelligence intercepted sensitive documents that indicated that Herr Führer Adolf Hitler himself has been made an unholy pact with the devil, Vlad the Impaler, Count Vladimir Dracula. He plans to create a vampire army under his control to usher in his Third Reich. The room sat silent for a moment. I broke the silence. "Wait a minute, Colonel." I called him Colonel because, well, how else do you refer to the most celebrated hero in Earth's history? "Do you mean to tell me that Hitler has gone and created himself a vampire army with the help of Dracula?" "That is correct." "Big Daddy Cool. Is that your given name?" Abel said with a snarky tone. "Very droll, Colonel." I echoed his tone. Now, you want to tell us what happens next?" "Next, Harker and a hand-picked team will drop behind enemy lines and eliminate that threat. Harker, Marvell, Balthazar, I will be in rendezvous with the rest of the force at 0900 hours. We're going with you too," I added. "No, Johnny," said Maxwell. "If we fail to stop Hitler's plans in Chicago, or in Europe, Chicago will be his next target. You and your bombshells will be the only ones left to stop him from succeeding in raising the Elder God and achieving his conquest. We need you here." "Then take Rocco," I said. "He can't be hurt. He's indestructible, see?" Without even pausing a beat, I pulled my Colt 45 single-action Army revolver from the shoulder holster under my red pinstripe jacket and shot Rocco point blank in the chest. Rocco didn't flinch. The slug dropped to the floor with a resounding ping. "He'll be valuable. Besides, nobody comes into my joint and tears up the place and walks out without paying." So that was that. A team of masks and mystery men were heading off to save the world. But instead of going with the rest of them jamborees, me and the bombshell kittens were left behind to wet nurse, the nexus of reality. I know, it sounds ridiculous, didn't it? I'm a former gangster, gone legit, just trying to entertain people. But I got these talents that brought me to the attention of the architects. So now me and the bombshell kittens are super-powered time travelers charging with seeking out mystical artifacts to prevent the rise of the elder god Cthulhu, masquerading as mere entertainers. Now, because of all that, we got to stay put here in case something goes wrong over there. Yeah, it's hard for me to believe, too. All right, so a hell of a ride. Like I said, my copy, Tales from the Flip Side, Adventures of Big Daddy Cool and the Bombshell Kittens, I got autographed. John and I, we've been traveling the cons, having a good time, and this is his breakout one. It's been republished as, let me try it this way, Night Reich, and you can find that on Amazon. Be sure when you pick it up on Amazon, leave him a review. We all need those unicorns, and 50 reviews get you a unicorn. So, thank you much. Catch you next week. We'll see what I bring out for the first chapter. Wow, what a mistake. So, after I did the reading, John reached out to me, and I posted the wrong book. First podcast, completely blow it. But I done recorded it, and I ain't doing it again. So, the only thing I can do is, if you like the podcast, go get the first book, Reich, and then get this one, One Night at the Roxy, The Tales of the Decoverse, Volume Dose. And John, I'm sorry, I put the wrong one up there. I rushed him. It's completely my fault. And if the next the next person I put up there, I will do better. John, thank you very much for being my first guinea pig. I'm sorry I screwed up the book cover. So, like I said, the only thing we can do is if you enjoyed this podcast, reach out to John on Amazon, pick up his books, and send him an email and let him know that, I apologize. Thanks, everybody. Let's wrap this up. I am Larry Hoy, biker writer legend. You found me here. Make sure that you visit my author page on Facebook. It's Larry Hoy Author. Like it and follow it so that way you get my daily updates and my weekly first chapter readings. If you're an author or if you've got your favorite book out there that I haven't read yet, reach out to me on Facebook. Drop me a PM. And maybe I'll be reading your book next week. But love to see more. If you can support me, I've got a great story out there on Amazon. It is Demon's Kiss, the next book in the Hit World series. I'd love to get one out there to you and put it in your hands. And when you read it and love it like you will, I know you, throw me a review on Amazon, because I hear when you get 50 reviews, they send you a unicorn. Who knew? Anyway, it's been a great time. Have a great one. Talk at you next week.